Hi, my name is Cindy Vandeput, and this year for my Gateway thesis, I took a deep look into the Walt Disney Company. My thesis for this year was, despite teaching lessons in their movies, Disney implants unrealistic ideologies into the minds of impressionable children through their movies and theme parks, which negatively affects them throughout their lives. The research for my thesis came mainly from a survey sent out to the student body and my social media followers, along with looking at a variety of videos, TV shows, and movies, including the Imagineering story on Disney Plus and YouTube videos by previous and current cast members. Disney movies are a big part of the company. I decided to take an in-depth look at the roles of characters and how they are portrayed, as well as the lessons that are taught throughout the movies. As you can see from these survey responses, a large majority of the survey takers felt as though that Disney movies affected the way that they think in some way. They also believe that not only Disney movies are meant to entertain, but they are also meant to teach lessons to their audience. Taking a look at the main leads to some of their most popular movies, it is seen that Disney characters hold an ideal body shape, with the men being very masculine and women being very feminine. Most Disney princesses are motivated by a man in some way. However, in the last two Disney princess movies, Frozen and Moana, you can see that the women didn't rely on a man, but they still needed a man's help to complete their mission. You can also see how the Disney brand decided to portray gender roles, with the men doing a lot of the fighting and the women doing a lot of cleaning and cooking. A majority of the survey takers felt that the time period that a movie was released affects the way that the lessons are portrayed throughout the films. That's why I decided to look at the lessons from the earlier films and compare them to the newer films. A lot of earlier films, again, portray women doing women's work like cleaning and cooking, men doing most of the fighting, and men being needed for the women. And also it includes a loss of at least one parent throughout the film. However, in the newer films, women are portrayed a lot more independent, and they even decide to tackle some major ideas like racism. During the wartime era of the Disney Company, they were running low on money, so decided to help with World War II propaganda for the Allied forces, helping both civilians and soldiers. They did this through a number of films, which included Mr. Donald Duck, and even produced Mickey Mouse gas masks. Another major part of the Disney Company are their parks, which is the closest thing to a utopia in my opinion. As you can see from the prices, this is something a lot of families work up to and save in order to go to. But it's 100% magical, right? Not only does it cost a lot of money to go to the parks, but as you can see, you can end up spending a lot of money on merchandise alone. This is a screenshot from shopdisney.com, their official merchandise website, and as you can see, the prices range anywhere from $12 to $64 depending on what you purchase. As you can see from this map, there is a Disney park in what seems to be almost every corner of the globe, meaning they don't miss a single customer. The parks are a world within their own right and even have their own language. Employees are called cast members, their uniforms are called costumes, anywhere where guests are allowed is considered on stage, and employee-only areas are considered backstage. If you play a character, you say, "I'm friends with," instead of saying, "I play this person." And customers are called guests. This language is a way to keep the Disney magic afloat throughout the entire theme park and to keep your experience as magical as possible. When looking at the utopian sense around the parks, it is hard to overlook Epcot, which stands for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. Walt Disney planned for this park to be a utopian city which relied only on itself for energy and produce. With the passing of Walt Disney, many of the ideas were scrapped, but Imagineers decided to pivot the idea from a perfected utopia to a place where we can look into how we can better ourselves as people. Throughout the parks, there are a number of ways that Imagineers chose to trick our minds. Some of these ways include the color Go Away Green, which they put on benches, fire hydrants, and even construction walls, and this color makes your eyes completely revert away from it. Another thing they use is forced perspective. The best way to describe this method is by looking at the Disney castles in every park. The bricks closest to the guests are bigger, and as they go up, they get smaller and smaller, making the castles appear larger than they actually are. Finally, you will never see anybody taking out the trash in Disney World, especially in Magic Kingdom. Imagineers use tunnels underneath the park in order to dispose of waste, as well as get cast members from one end of the park to another without being seen. One of the survey questions I asked was, do you feel that Disney should be held responsible for the messages they promote in their movies? A large majority of the survey takers said yes to this statement. Disney as a company has to be aware of how they're promoting things, especially since they're becoming a monopoly. This wonderful diagram shows how many companies Disney actually does own. They own anything from production companies, streaming services, and even networks. COVID-19 affected my thesis a lot. I was supposed to go to the Disney parks during spring break, but unfortunately had to cancel due to the outbreak. Disney took the very bold choice of closing every single Disney park as a response to COVID-19. As of May 11th, Shanghai Disney opened, and as of May 20th, Disney Springs opened in Florida. A large majority of their movies slated for a theatrical release got pushed back to a future date. However, some got completely moved over to their streaming service Disney Plus, which is something they're heavily reliant on at the moment. In the future, they plan on opening Walt Disney World from July 11th to July 12th. It is still very uncertain, but they are planning to keep with the health and safety guidelines that the CDC provides. So, you may be wondering, why come back to this company? The main reason being is nostalgia. Everyone grew up watching Disney movies, and it brings them back to a happier time in their lives. They want their kids to experience the same thing as they do, therefore they show their kids these Disney movies. Additionally, Disney never seems to be leaving the headlines. Because they're such a big company and touch almost everything, there is almost always something in the news about them. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.